We know that the process of Krishna consciousness is very practical in its very setting. It's not abstract. Therefore, it is pratyaksha dharmyam. It can be experienced because it is very practical. Now, the question which comes here sometimes is that a person, what happens when a person approaches Krishna consciousness with a theoretical framework of mind? Means he's not willing to practice anything, but he's just happy about exploring the territories. He's happy having a walk around. He's happy taking some selfies. Today I went to ISKCON. He's happy taking selfies. Is it not? The khichdi at ISKCON. Like that. Just taking a selfie. So you see, anytime somebody comes to him for book distribution, he just pats on their back. He says, yes, yes, very nice. You're doing very good work. All the best. Continue. My good wishes are there with you. Anytime somebody comes for enrollment for the session, he says, yes, yes. He pats on their back, says, yes, yes, you're doing good work. My blessings are there with you. My good wishes are there with you. Continue. So the person not ready to practice. What happens? So this is basically, but he is happy about coming along with the devotees, sometimes hearing pastimes, You can have a nice hearty laugh sitting in a lecture, Sometimes he gets emotional in the pastime. So what happens to such a person? You see, Lord Krishna is explaining here, such a person will attain the planets of the pious. So they are not actively and enthusiastically practicing. But because they have not stubbornly shut the doors, because they have not stubbornly shut the doors, they can also, so they land up in the planets of the pious. So simply theoretical connection to Krishna consciousness will at least take one to the planet of the pious. Is it not? But if one puts it into practice also, then one can go to the spiritual world. So this is the interesting point. Even a theoretical approach to Krishna consciousness will take one to the planet of the pious. And as an example, Prabhupada is quoting Dhruva Loka. You can go to Dhruva Loka, Dhruva Maharaj is presiding. So Dhruva Loka will be very opulent, by the way, much more than New York City. Will be very opulent, or Los Angeles, much more than that, will be Dhruva Loka, like that. So, yeah, Dhruva Loka. How about going to Dhruva Loka for preaching, That's like nowadays our devotees are very excited about going to Boston for preaching, like that, So how about, just imagine, how about going to Dhruva Loka for preaching? Is it not, Dhruva Loka is going to be very opulent, by the way, very pious and opulent. So quite interesting. So you see, a theoretical approach to Krishna consciousness will take one to Dhruva Loka, and a practical approach to Krishna consciousness will take one to Goloka. That's the only difference. So that means Krishna consciousness is very, very auspicious in its very setting. Every fabric of Krishna consciousness is so auspicious. And okay, simply a theoretical practice. That means anytime anybody comes and hears, sometimes people are very happy hearing stories. They are not going to practice and change anything of their lives. But they like to hear stories. Katha kari katha. Madhur, katha, is it not? They'll do katha. After that, he'll go and eat non-veg. No, that is, that lifestyle doesn't change. But he likes katha. Katha kari, is it not? So what will happen to such a person? He'll go to Dhruva. Such a person will go to Dhruva. See, this is how powerful and auspicious Krishna consciousness is. Or that will get nullified by hearing. If he is conscious of the fact that or if he is very much conscious of the fact that he is chanting or doing katha, that will nullify his meditating. Then it is offensive. But if he is not, he is anyways not dabba, then it won't be offensive. Yes, yes. So not willfully doing chanting for the sake of nullifying the sin what he is committing. But if one develops an attraction, a liking for the katha hearing, then such a person will go to Dhruloka, not the offender. Offender knows that he wants to nullify his sin by his presence in chanting. Is it not? So such a person will not advance. But a person who doesn't know, I mean, he is not doing chanting or hearing just because to nullify, but he actually has a liking for it. He may have other likings for Hollywood movies, pop stars, fashions, whatever. No, he may have his own set of liking. One such liking will be Krishna consciousness. Yes, similar. Similar. So, but many times people are not ready to change. So even such a person stands to benefit. So, yeah. So similarly, we may see many devotees in the society. They're happy, being around in the society. But at the same time, they have a lot of material goals in their minds. So their life is revolving around their material goals, but they are happy to, in between, drop in this center. Wear some tilak, sit down in a class, take some prasad, and give some donation. So such people also stand to benefit. So this is this, for such people, it will be in line with Shimatam Shuchi Shuchitam Shimatam Gehe. So for such, so these people, they will be Shuchinam Shimatam Gehe. But we have to understand that they are not actively practicing, they are just taking theoretically, just be around. So they will also benefit, because actually in 670, the Lord is explaining that there is nothing theoretical about Krishna consciousness. Even one who is sitting down and hearing, he is not theoretical. Because by hearing is worshipping me with intelligence, the Lord is saying. Is it not? That's what text 70, the Lord says that even if one is just sitting and hearing, now one is just sitting and hearing, and he's attentive, liking it and all that. But the Lord is saying that if one is, even if one is simply hearing, is actually worshipping. It's not passive. Krishna consciousness is never passive. Krishna consciousness is always active, never passive. So such a person is hearing Krishna Katha, he will get purified. And that hearing itself is an activity. So in that sense, being with devotees itself is an activity. Sleeping with devotees itself is an activity. All these activities will give a positive credit. That's the point. Oh, here the question is, what happens after landing up at Dhruvaloka? Oh, will we come to Earth again? Yes. Okay. So what happens when we land up in the Dhruvaloka? Oh, what happens after landing to the Dhruvaloka? Will we come to Earth again? So okay, so it's interesting. Now the point is, okay, so you see, Mayapur is spiritual world. In Mayapur, Krishna, our, uh, our Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir is the hub of the epicenter of the spiritual world, is it not? So when we go to Mayapur in the spiritual world, what happens to us after that? Is it not? So what happens to us after going to Mayapur? No? Uh, we come out, is it not? No? So we gain some credits and we are happy with that. Then we want to lead so-called normal life, and we come out, is it not? So so Mayapur is also spiritual world in that sense, or the Lord is fully manifested and present in the Dham. But we go to the Dham and we come out. Uh, how much benefit we get, that depends on our consciousness, is it not? Similarly, Dhruvaloka, no doubt Lord Vishnu is personally present, but no doubt Lord Vishnu is personally present, but the Lord is personally present in the Dham also. The Lord is personally present in the Vigraha also, is it not? So yes, therefore a person who is not purified will come out. That's the point. Because the Lord is personally present in Mayapur. But then why don't we get stuck there only in Mayapur? No? It doesn't happen because our heart is not that purified. Is it not? Similarly, the Lord is there in Vrindavan also. But people go to Vrindavan and come out into their material affairs. So similarly, we know Dhruvaloka, Lord Vishnu is present, but uh, because it is on a material dimension, one can still come out, is it not? See, what is Dhruvaloka? That means what exactly is Dhruvaloka? It is said, actually Acharyas explained, that even if one is on the doorway of the spiritual world, one can fall down from there also. Now this is the explanation, right? Acharyas are giving. So what is Dhruvaloka? Dhruvaloka, you have not actually entered the spiritual world, but you can see the spiritual world. So you can see Lord Vishnu in front, like that. But one has not actually entered into relationship with the Lord. Jutna. So one has not gone into spiritual trajectory, but the spiritual trajectory is visible. So that's like no, that's not even the door of the spiritual world. That's a little more behind the door of the spiritual world. But definitely one can fall down from there. Is it not? Because unless one enters the dehliz of the spiritual world, one can fall down any moment, being intoxicated. That can happen. So interesting, no? This is the interesting point, right? The interesting point. So Dhruvaloka is not spiritual world, but Dhruvaloka you can see Vishnu, but you have not entered Vaikuntha. Is it not? That's the point. Yes, that's true. So whenever we have the question is whenever we have association, we get inspired, but the tempo goes down very soon. So why is it so? So the answer is the point is association will create inspiration and ignition. Now this ignition and inspiration will not stay for long. But we can preserve this inspiration and ignition by immediately translating that ignition and inspiration into service. So when we serve according to what we have heard and according to the association what we have got, so when we offer service according to that association, then immediately by that activity, our inspiration is preserved. And if you don't do anything, we will lose the inspiration in 2 days. If you do something, it will last for 1 month. If you do a lot of things, it may even last for a lifetime. Is it not? This Prabhupada's association lasted for very long. Is it not? Because Prabhupada was doing service, he did not go tempo down. So Prabhupada didn't go tempo down. Why he didn't go? Because he was actively engaged in serving. So he was not just keeping the message theoretical, he was engaged in serving. That's how we can preserve. Text 72. Kashyadek Shrutam Partha Tyayaiकाग्रेन चेतसा कश्चित् अज्ञान सम्मोहा प्रणष्टस्ते धनंजय. O son of Partha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? So the Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole. Whole of Bhagavad Gita if so required. So actually anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna and his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. So a person, all his ignorance is dispelled. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or a fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. So therefore, we understand here that Krishna consciousness, nothing is passive, you see. The hearing should lead to dissolution of the ignorance and the and dispersion of the illusions. It should lead to dispersion of illusion. Actually, it should lead to the so. So we see hearing is so powerful. And immediately all illusions, hesitations, everything starts getting evaporated. And if it is not happening, that means attention is lacking. So therefore, it is appropriate to say that Krishna consciousness intake should not be a passive affair. No activity of Krishna consciousness should be taken passively. Passive means we are not conscious. Passive means we are not attentive. We take it for granted. Passive. Like in a class, we can be passive. We can be just passive. So not attentive. One is saying, okay, let's just finish the time. We know the finishing time limit. So let's just finish the time. That's it. Passive approach. That's exactly passive approach. When we are attentive, when we are hearing with an open mind, then we are not passive, we're very actively involved. So Krishna consciousness works best in an active setting. Not in a passive setting. That is why Krishna consciousness necessitates that in every activity and service we do, one should put his heart. One should invest his heart. Then we can see remarkable results in Krishna consciousness. So now here the Lord is also exhibiting one of the beautiful qualities of a bona fide spiritual master. Lord Krishna has explained the whole Bhagavad Gita. He's saying with Arjuna, have you heard it? Is it clear? And Lord Krishna is telling, if it is not clear, I can repeat part of it. I can repeat the whole of it also. Lord Krishna was ready to re-explain the whole thing. Just see the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is not telling, "Arey, bahut ho gaya, sargaram ho gaya, na." Is it not? I mean, whatever you have captured by YouTube streaming and I'll go to YouTube and see and then work. Is it not? I have done my part. But here the Lord is ready to re-explain. So you see, a preacher is like that. Is it not? This is the exact, this is the right attitude of a preacher. The preacher is, so actually we will see, a preacher of Krishna consciousness cannot be impatient. Patience is a very fundamental necessity for a preacher. Many times, rather we have seen in our preaching, when the preachers or the follow-up candidates or those who are involved in preaching, they go a little restless, and it creates more damage in the lives of those children, those students. It creates a bigger damage in their lives, rather means more repercussions. So by restlessness, one adds on to inflict uh, inflict or inject problems in others' lives. Actually, that's the thing. So how do we understand? What are the examples? Yes, many examples actually. So many times, say suppose Surti camp is there. Radheshyam Prabhu is taking Spurti camp, Radheshyam Prabhu will ask, okay, which voice, how many boys have come? Hey, and when he comes to voice visit, he will ask, okay, how many boys came for Spurti from your group, your group, your group, your group, like that. So many times what people will do is that a person who is not at that level, they may just squeeze him up, stretch him up, and then just make him sit. And this happens. Now what happens? This person comes and sits, he won't be able to take in. It's tug of war going on. Tug of war is going on. Between whom? Krishna and parents. Yeah, Krishna and ambition. Those discussions going on. This is a person completely bowled out. Is it not? So sometimes that is disservice. Or sometimes say a person is not taken to Krishna consciousness. He has just got, he just landed into a dead stop. He's saying, I'm not going any further. So sometimes the preacher becomes extra compassionate. He says, my boy, how he cannot become devotee. I will make him into a devotee. And then he gives him 8 hours of dose. Next day, the preacher is also missing from the morning program. He's given 8 hours of dose. As a Falashruti, other fellow is completely knocked out. Not out of material life, out of the ISKCON life. Is it not? So, so this is the point actually. So sometimes we are too restless and then it may create a problem. That's why patience is very important actually. Because you see, Krishna is so patient. So we are too restless, it becomes damage. And definitely many devotees do this with parents. They are super enthusiastic to preach to parents. They say, okay, parents, I have taken to Krishna consciousness, how can they not? And how dare they not take to Krishna consciousness? But actually, parents are not like rabbits. Yeah, or they are not like Pomeranian dogs or rabbits, actually. They are like lions and tigers. The moment you go and pinch them, why don't you chant one round? Immediately you'll see them staring at us, with big red eyes, and then they roar. Lions roar. Yeah. So the lions roar, and when they start roaring, the devotee is trembling, and and that roar actually crushes of all their faith, conviction, everything, and all that. So the student went to preach to the parents. He came back, he's thinking of giving back his mala to his facilitator Prabhu. He says, you better chant for my on this mala for 2 years. After that, I'll take it back. Is it not? So those kind of situations do arise. So why? Because now what is the problem? We are too fast with parents. That's the problem. And we are feeling, why can't they accept it? Why should they accept it? So we're too fast with them, is it not? So you see, when we are too fast, we're creating damage, is it not? Therefore, one has to be patient. So Lord Krishna is showing Arjuna, no problem. If you have not understood, I can repeat the whole thing again. Krishna is not telling, don't you know my position? Don't you know how many people are looking forward to me? And your nonsense not hearing, already one time I have told you. Krishna is ready to explain again. Yes, question. Which was? Previous was.
Krishna is asking, have you understood? Like, if you have not understood, again explain this. So is it like he has not sufficient, or again if you explain, then he could read.
Yeah, so this understanding is not necessary, is not just intellectual. Because intellectualism may not help one to practically apply. And Krishna is talking about application. So it will be intellectual, it will be realization, it will be visual. The devotee has basically got a vision and a practical insight how to apply it. So Krishna is checking whether you've got all that. If something you have not got, let's take it over again. That's the point. So this is not just intellectual understanding, because this is realization or vision. What we call it as chakshudan diloji. Has that happened or not? That's what the Lord is checking. If not, the Lord will reveal it again. That's yes, that's called as yes, yes, yes. The understanding means just like a surgery professor. Yeah, so he can himself drive the surgery. Yeah, that means he has understood it.
Why difficult this faith journey, so person just
Faith also germinates. So many times when we are hearing, we are not attentive. So whenever we are attentive by repeated hearing, we will get we will get the right point. So our intelligence will be set right. Is it not? Will purified. Intellectually, we'll start getting more convictions of what trajectory to take forward. So yes, so that is why repeated. Another thing is repeated hearing also creates awakening. Many times we understand, just like person is in half sleep, sometimes he can hear what is being spoken. And he's doing hmm, hmm, then somebody is speaking and this person is doing he's listening. Then this person is like, okay, I've spoken, so what should I do? Then what will the reply come? So jao. Is it not? So he is hearing, but his processor is not evaluating it. Is it not? So it's a sleepy state. So similarly, we see our soul is always in a sleepy state. So we are hearing, good message, okay, good message, thumbs up, heart, so we may give all those kind of reactions. But then one is not applying it. Why? The soul is sleeping. The soul is inactive. So the process of Krishna consciousness will activate that also. Is it not? Awakening. So repeated hearing will bring about awakening also. And definitely it brings about purification. So it fries the seeds of the anarthas. That's the point. Arjuna Vacha Nashtumoha Smritirlabdha Tvat Prasadan Mayachyuta Sthitosmi Gata Sandeha Karishe Vachanam Tava. It takes some time to come, not a problem. It has some delay loop. It will come. That's okay. Rest assured, sooner or later. If you are connected, mercy will come. Huh? Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions. The constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by the material nature. But in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes a liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be a servitor. He has to serve either the illusory energy or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in a normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in the material world. He is bound by his lust and desires, and yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. See, the last instruction, the last snare of Maya is to trap the living entity. To trap the living entity is the proposition that he is God. Last snare of Maya. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, he is but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in doubt? If he is God, how can he come in doubt? That he does not consider. So that is the last layer of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusory energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Now, actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally a servant of the Lord. Now, but instead of thinking himself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is a master of this material world. For he wants to lord it over material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. So this illusion is curable. It is not no incurable disease. It is not like HIV. It is not incurable. Curable. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditioned soul illusioned by the external energy of matter does not know that the Supreme Lord is a master who is full of knowledge and who is a proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is a friend of everyone and he is especially inclined to his devotees. He is a controller of this material nature and of all the living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the pure devotee, to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion, and he does not become a devotee but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became free from all illusion.